In the early years for us, and in this industry in general, the MO, if you will, for most contractors is to install the product as cheaply as you can. Just slap it down and go. As you install it, you trowel, the last trowel swipe that you take, it's over, it's done, pick up, clean up, go home, it's over. The reason for that is down the road, 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it may be, the contractor wants to sell the customer a reseal. For many years, this business was predicated on the aftermarket coming back and resealing, restoring, if you will, the gloss and the glue and at the top surface. And contractors would charge for that, and that's guaranteed money. If you have 100 customers, pretty much most of them are going to be calling you on an annual basis and paying you to reseal this every year, at least every 2 years, especially outdoors. We did the same thing because we didn't know any better. When I got involved, that's what we were doing. It became problematic in a number of ways. But mainly, the flooring was experiencing problems too early. It was just too much. What we were seeing was the gloss diminished very quickly, possibly some discoloration, some yellowing, or or things like that with it, shedding, a breakdown of the epoxy and stone shedding out. This was a problem. And I kept trying to figure out, I thought it was because it was the epoxy. I thought it was just a poor epoxy, poor performing, and it was what it was. And to some degree, it was related to the performance of the overall epoxy. And so we kept trying to increase the performance. But as I looked at it more, I began to realize it was the application, it was the process of applying the stone that was actually contributing to the problem. When you're troweling this stone and epoxy, you have to use a lubricant to keep the epoxy from sticking to the trowel and to be able to lay the stone down flatly. Well, that lubricant cuts the epoxy. So if you're using a lubricant and cutting the top of this epoxy as you're troweling, well, then you have a weakened epoxy at the top surface. Additionally, the trowel swipe alone, you have your trowel, cocked a little bit, and you're swiping across the top, you're almost skimming that excess epoxy off. So you're skimming it and you're diluting it. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to break down that much faster. When the guys in this industry go out and a customer calls up, I got this problem. Well, you need a reseal. Well, how much is that? Well, 80 cents, $1 a square foot or more. So you got a 300, 400, 500 square foot job. It's $300, $400, $500. Not bad every year or two. They will come out and sell you on this. When they put the top coat down, the top coat is typically the same epoxy, which in and of itself is not bad, except that normally most guys will cut the epoxy with a solvent. They'll put a xylene or a mineral spirits or something into it to thin it out and to buy time and to put it up, to be able to roll it much easier. Well, so what they're really doing is putting a weakened epoxy back down over it, and this process just keeps going on and on and on. And every year or two, the customer is paying this money. So with all that, and going to the fact that I had a wood deck years ago that I used to have to clean and seal on an annual basis. And I got to the point, to be honest with you, I tore the deck out. I said, I'm done with this. And so how could I ask my customers to reseal this thing every year or two? Isn't it the same thing that I got mad about with the wood deck? It's a great aftermarket moneymaker, if you will, but that leads to problems as well. So my takeaway after looking at all this is when you install nature stone, it's not a finished floor until you restore the integrity of the top surface of that stone. You've got to be able to buy more time. You've got to be able to put that customer out. Even if you could put them out 5 years instead of 2 or 1, it's saving them money. It's lasting longer. And the drill is, or the goal is, to get them out 10 years or 20 years. Today we're at 10. But that was my goal. So when we install a floor, we come back the following day and we roll down what we call a protective top coat. And quite frankly, it's no different than the auto industry. It was one of the things I looked at years ago. I remember buying cars, and I'm probably dating myself, maybe the two of us, I don't know. But I remember buying cars. They had these gorgeous epoxy paint jobs. And they had these metallic flakes in them, and they're just absolutely beautiful. But after a few years in the sunlight, they became very chalky, very dull, and you could not restore the gloss to that paint job. And the auto industry, I know, had fits with that. And so they fixed it. And I wanted to know, how did they fix it? What did they do that we should be doing? Well, they started to incorporate protective top coats over those epoxy finishes. Today, they use all kinds of things. They've come a long way. But even back then, they were able, at least a few of them were able to fix that problem. And so I said, well, then we need to put a protective top coat down. So we've played with and experimented with and a number of different products over the years. We've used polyureas, we've used urethanes, we've used epoxies, we've used the water-based, we've used the solvent-based, which I'm not crazy about. We've we've played with a lot of different things, and we've had our chemists working on this. We're working on one today that I think it's a one-part system that I think is phenomenal. And we'll see how that plays out. So, but at the very least, if you did nothing else but take the same epoxy and put it down over the top and restore that integrity, you're going to buy years of performance. So we incorporated it.